It was a season last year that brought everything together into one perfect melting pot. A race which decided a championship and one champion above all else. It gets a little bit more technical this season. We split across 2 circuits for the entirety of the season, and the race to the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca begins up once again. We will start here tonight in Okayama. We'll get our jumbo jets and fly over to Watkins Glen shortly, but the Simify MX5 World Sim Series is in the house, and it starts with the Club Series here from Okayama for the opening round of the championship. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone around the world watching. My name is Jake Sperry, and alongside me in the booth for today's action is Fen Woodruff. Daniel Costello has jumped into the director's chair for this one today. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But to start things off with proceedings, we go to exactly where we started things off last time out 1 year ago. It's the Circuit TIA.
Lush hills in southern Japan. Built in 1990, it's most well known for the 2 visits Formula One made in 94 and 95. But since then, national and international touring car series have come to race here as well. Otherwise, the 2 available layouts are mostly used for club racing and amateur track days. The full course is just under 4 kilometers with 11 turns, and the short version is a measly 2 kilometers with 7 turns. It does this by cutting out the portion between Williams and Revolver. While hairpins abound throughout the lap, overtakes tend to be surprisingly hard. The first corner, Atwood Curve, and Hairpin are the main spots where drivers can attempt a traditional pass. Hairpin makes for unique battles though. The unusually steep banking for a road course, plus the switchback into Revolver, means that holding it around the outside can reward a brave driver. However, while it is a more modern facility, runoff in some places is shockingly small, and it can be easy to damage your car. This section in particular around Revolver, Piper, and Redmond gets slightly claustrophobic. The pit entry requires some practice since you must use the inside lane of Mike Knight, otherwise you'll get a penalty. While it might not see as much use in the real world, here on iRacing this track is part of the base content, and so new road racers will find themselves here frequently. With it being suitable for a wide range of styles of cars, it's sure to excite many of the competitors who tackle it.
It is an incredible circuit, Okayama. It's perfect for this style of machinery. It's also had, over the last year to this year, a brand new graphical update, which has made the challenges slightly different. Fen, this is a track where you do have to be patient because that entire second half of the lap has the ability to be fought too wide.
It absolutely does. When you are going basically from the Revolver on, you can go too wide through most of those corners, given these cars are pretty low on the downforce, low on the speed, plenty of room on that track to make your own line. 11 turns make out this layout, the full layout, a little bit different than what we usually will see with MX5s in the rookie series over in iRacing itself. Very cool to see though with that Moss S and the Atwood curve before that nice long straight down the back. As you get around this corner, 2.3 miles or 3.724 kilometers rounds out this lap time, about a 1 minute 53 for our MX5s here today.
Yep, so that minute 53 is going to be an important challenge as these drivers all look to put themselves up in the best possible position for their start. Now, the breakdown of this is going to be as follows for the season as a whole. This is round 1 of 10. These drivers are racing in seeded splits. So you've got the Club Series, which acts independent. That is a free series that any driver can sign up and enter. You then also have the paid entry that goes in for the MX5 World Sim Series proper, which is split into 2 for today's racing. 25 minutes worth of racing for every single race, a fixed setup in each race as well, and the spare car available if you get yourself into trouble. So there is always the ability to go out on circuit and find the way to go forward. The reason why this championship is going to be important, Fen, is that the top 10 drivers at the end of the season are booked onto the final 10 spots of the World Sim Series final at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
That they are, so it's going to be definitely an interesting time seeing these cars go around and make sure that they can get everything underway and get themselves slotted in for that final at the end of the year.
Yeah, and they are in qualifying. It is 10 minutes long, but there is a slight difference compared to what there was previously here, Fen, because it used to be that you had 3 laps to go and take your qualifying lap time out there as we focus on Anton Simeonov out there on a reconnaissance lap because his first lap has already gone by the wayside. Now these drivers are on hot shot qualifying. You get 1 lap, you get 1 opportunity, as a certain rapper called Eminem once said.
A certain rapper called that, absolutely. So they only have 1 shot to make their spot on the field as high up as they can get it. So not much time to warm those tires up. So definitely learning how to manage those cold tires to get the maximum amount of time out on the circuit. Getting everything sorted will be important and imperative when you only have 1 chance.
Yeah, and over the line goes Simeonov. No lap time set, 46.7 in terms of trying to get some understanding. That would have been a lap time good enough for about 13th position. Michael Elliott is currently out there on a flying lap in the 002 machine, and they have that hard cut of 10 minutes, so they desperately need to get that through and over the line. The Positive Delta Motorsport driver, the South African here, really trying to maximize the circuit. Going through the left there of Piper, another left immediately follows, and you are pretty much dancing through every single section of this lap, trying to piece it together. It's all right-handers from here over to the end, and now it's about modulation of the throttle. 2 90-degree corners remain.
and we'll see how well he does those two 90-degree corners. Looks like they're setting up to be pretty smooth and put together for a good lap time. Going over the line, it's going to be what looks to be a nice and smooth 144. It's 145.6, or sorry, 145.556.
Yeah, that's a good time there from Michael Elliott. It puts him up on the front row, just a tenth off of Christian Bisserov, who currently is the fastest driver. Simeonov is out there, and he doesn't have any laps. He's the only driver out there, so that will pretty much put qualifying as official, with no other drivers available to get out on circuit and set a representative flying lap at this point, which means Simeonov is getting all of the practice in the negative delta machine, as he will go from 31st position as it stands currently on the grid. But it will all depend on the iRating for those drivers who did not set a time. 30 drivers did, and about 7 drivers were unable to put a lap time over the line that was in the place that they necessarily wanted. We'll take a moment then here, ladies and gentlemen, to go over to the Simify starting grid. Simify is your one-stop shop for all your sim racing gear. Choose from iconic brands and bundles in an array of physical hardware to get your leg up on the competition. Simify ships worldwide and also has 2 sim racing centers in Madrid and Barcelona. Use the discount code MX5WSS at checkout to receive a discount on your sim racing purchase by visiting www.simify.com today. It starts as follows. Christian Bisserov is on the pole position with Michael Elliott alongside for company. Stefan Olderding and Luis Suarez are on row 2. David Geddes will start from 5th alongside Tom Weston, with Victor Oliveira and Sander Vara 7th and 8th. Rene Zegelar will go from 9th. The top 10 rounded out by Thomas Martinez.
Up in 11th position, you will be having Mark II, followed by Sergio Duarte. In 12th, 13th is going to be Nuno Ricardo, with Marcus Soares sharing row 7 in 14th. Steven Orell and Damian McMullen round out your row 8. Jojo Patrick and Pedro Marimon are going to be your 17th and 18th positions, as well as Joel Doughton and Bruno Albino rounding out the top 10 rows.
Yeah, so then over to row 11 is Simon Robson and Nicholas Norwood, Alexander Nikolov and Mackenzie Mann on row 12. Then it's David Balaj and Alvaro Rodriguez. Kalle Rantanen 27th, Brett Wright 28th, with Sir Alan Toon and Arturo de Villa. The last drivers then will be led by Anton Simeonov. You've got Martin Smith, Armanula Bacchus, David Mitchell, Klearchos Duvantzis, Javier Sequendez, and Leon Vorters, making the 37 drivers looking to get themselves into position today here from Okayama. Green flag in the air, and we get ourselves underway, and it's caught out a couple drivers there in the middle of the field who have gone backwards. It was a nice clean start from Bisserov off of the front of the field into the first corner. They charge. Cold tires are going to be key here. Elliott has a little bit of a slide going through side by side in the middle of that's Tom Weston and Victor Oliveira looking to try and go through. Spins in the background there of one means that there's trouble near the back of the field, Fed.
Definitely going to be some trouble back there. A lot of too wide in the middle of the pack, and the nice zipper up at the front of the field means it's going to be some clean racing for our top half, but definitely some recovery going to be done from the mid-pack back.
Yeah, so there's going to be lots of work to try and gain through. 25 minutes to make that time back up again. And look at this, as Weston has Vara for company then as they charge. The independent club UK&I is now looking to try and charge on forward. This is going to be one of the key places to get the pass done today. Down the hill at the hairpin, the small flick left, which leads to this hairpin right. Everybody trying to find an angle here to go through. Geddes losing out on position. That's Oliveira, who's made an absolutely fantastic start. He's now gained 2 places here on this run, 7th to 5th.
Absolutely great run for Oliveira as he keeps on, and then is immediately, I believe made it through okay, but we have Steven Oradell and one other getting caught out in that.
Yeah, I think it was Marcos Suarez who was caught up there. The Darius scary car of Stephen Orrell getting in all sorts of trouble. So he's had the tip, but it continues on. Then in the middle of the circuit, 2 off the road, trying to recover their ways back onto track. One is Mark II, who finds himself in trouble. The other, I believe, was Rene Zegelar, who got caught up. So awful issues then on the start, and everybody is trying to find positions early. This is Alexander Nikolov here, the Frenchman, trying to find a place, and he knows that he's got Damien McMullen, the Irishman. He's trying to find a way by. 1 lap complete.
With 1 lap down, we have more carnage in that back. You can see just out of frame as we continue on. More cars getting caught up. We had Jojo Patrick as well as Sarah Lantone getting wrapped up in that, and a few more, I believe. But for those who are out in the front, it seems to be smooth sailing and trying to find what positions they can and making up the positions for those that got caught out.
It's positions everywhere. Weston, Nuno Ricciardo, and David Geddes then in their own race. And you've got Alderding and Elliott also scrapping it out for third. Elliott's now back in 4th position, but up the hill, this group in terms of their battle, Weston still having to scrap here with Nuno Ricciardo at this moment in time. And it's going to be a waiting game for the Canadian then of David Geddes, who has to just be patient, wait for the right place to make that move. They descend on the hairpin. We're going to see a lot of passes here in this race down into this section of track. Drive off the exit is brilliant there from Weston, just gets the clearance on the 3-wide racing car and is able to hold station.
Definitely a good move there, catching that inside of the hairpin and able to maximize that revolver turn and getting that space ahead as we move over to Stefan Alderding in that Sweat Sim Racing 003 car. Good, beautiful driving from those up in the front.
Yeah, so Alderding here in 3rd is trying to run the gauntlet here. Luis Suarez is his challenge next to overtake the Portuguese driver, and they can't afford to lose too much time to the Bulgarian here, Christian Bisserov, who leads this field outright. That gap at 1.1 seconds, and you feel that the moment that rubber band snaps over 1.5, that's it, that's trouble. Behind that, that's Nuno Ricciardo. Once again, as Bisserov sets the fastest lap of the race. Global SimRacing Channel replay then, for the first time this season. This is some of the issues that we found on the opening laps. This is David Balazs having a huge tap around through the final section. One of the SDC cars then getting an absolute smash through that final section.
Absolutely just getting clobbered there as he gets turned and then ran into in a T-bone type maneuver. Just going to be a rough day of recovery for him at this point as he is back out on the circuit, I believe, with that fast repair.
Yeah, they do have those fast repairs to get them back out. No limit to them, so they can effectively break the car as much as they like. They can go back out, but it will cost them the tow time, and it will also cost them the pit stop time as well. There is the DM Sim Racing car of Damien McMullen trying to open up an overtake here, as there's David Balazs, and also on top of that, Alexander Nikolov, who is now having to defend on that inside line, heading into the hairpin on the brakes, and comfortably manages it, but there's always the up and under attempt. This is such a brilliant track for close quarters racing, because every corner here, Ben, gives that opportunity.
That it does, especially with these MX5 machines. You have plenty of room to work with where you can make that alternative line, do that over-under through the corners to try to get that good inside line for the following corner in that almost defensive position at that point, trying to hold on to whatever time and position you're able to gain in these corners.
And slightly defensive then goes Luis Suarez here in 2nd position. Alderding covering that inside brilliantly. Now he's got that run on this front stretch, not able to pull into the slipstream is the Dutchman, but as he tries to think about where can I go and make a pass, this now might be the best place. Bisserov with another purple fastest lap to his name, which will be points in terms of the championship, but as you look at it from Alderding's perspective, he's just not quite close enough at the moment. 6 minutes gone in this race, 19 remaining, and he's thinking about, well, I'm now starting to really lose contact here with the group, and this is not part of the script for those drivers to see Bisserov drive off and pretty much away at this moment in time.
It is definitely interesting to see Bisserov do that, but it's also very cool to see how well Bisserov has been able to keep those apexes and exits and really maximize the amount of what little downforce there is to put out the horsepower that these cars have and make the most of that time.
Yeah, they are absolutely trying to make as much as possible out of today. That much you cannot doubt in terms of the way they are racing. It's important to note that they are all looking around at each other and going, you know what, we need points, we need as much as we can get. Top 10, by the way, by their position in the championship will house rows will places 41 through 50 in the World Sim Series final at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Trouble's a little bit further back, and there have been more. So Nicholas Norwood's got in trouble. So too now has Alexander Nikolov out on circuit. So Norwood tapped, and he effectively finds himself shunted from behind there, Fen, because he ends up effectively in a sandwich by the way he had to check up.
Absolutely, no room to go forward, but as he's trying to keep his car from hitting the car in front of him, gets hit by the car behind him and just gets sprinted off into that tire barrier, spun around. Definitely going to be some recovery time there if that car is able to keep going.
Yeah, so Weston has dropped back, and the reason why he's dropped back is he's had some contact with David Geddes and Alexander Nikolov, so they've all dropped positions here on this run. That's why they now find themselves outside of the top 10. Weston having to defend again from Geddes. Big line down the inside, smoke in front as well, because that was very nearly spinning Sergio Duarte, who is there through Williams. Look how close to the bumper they go. The off-camber turn 2 often leaves that line open.
That it does, especially if you don't make that line perfect. You'll get crashed out pretty easily. And that is Suarez after setting the fastest lap.
Yeah, so in second position through the Atwood curve, it's all gone wrong, and he has had contact with Stefan Olderding down at the corner. Olderding going aggressive. It looks like also getting caught up in that was Michael Ellett. What a free kick for Sandavara, who's just jumped up to second.
Absolutely, with the ability to just be there for when that crash happened, but not be in it, you're able to catch up so much time and really set yourself into a good position for these top 10 cars.
So all these drivers know is that it's get those points and positions, and there's more troubles out there on circuit. Spinner in front of them. That was Victor Oliveira, who was in 5th position at the start of the lap and now drops back as well. So all of these drivers now starting to find out what makes this race so difficult. Bisseroff leads. It's Vara in second. It's Ricciardo now up to third. Now here's what happened to Luis Suarez in the 3-wide racing machine. Down the hill, heading towards the Atwood curve, on the brakes. Olderding just a little bit later, can't get it G'd up.
It cannot, definitely was in there too late with the braking, got alongside, but then because of that braking too late, locked up those tires, got them slid out, and they made contact with Luis Suarez.
Whoa.
Oh, and somebody was almost just about put into the tire barrier there.
Yeah, that was close, and incredibly close at that. I think out there on circuit, that was Joel Duton, the Luxembourgian driver. There's one car off the road, actually, at turn 1. That's Sergio Duarte, who was in 9th position, so he's definitely going backwards. Talk about some of your gainers in the field. Alexander Nikolov is up 15 spaces in this race. Pedro Marimon up 13. Nuno Ricciardo up 10.
As well as Alvaro Rodriguez, who's up 14, I believe, as well. Definitely good movers from people maximizing their lines as well as staying out of trouble, which I feel is almost half the battle. We're almost doing an endurance-style race with the amount of trouble management that you have to end up doing here.
It's very much a case of it feels like a long race in such a short period of time. Simon Robson on the Demon Tweaks Motorsport machine, looking to make his Miata go through against David Mitchell here, the Scot. And that is going to be a very important pass if he can find it. Down at the hairpin, searching. Mitchell has to take the wide line in the Wampy Motorsport car. Suarez in 11th also finds himself now in this group, and he's got to recover and run this gauntlet in front. And all these places go up to Damian McMullen in 7th place. So one at a time for him in the second half of the race.
Definitely going to be a lot of managing your tire and managing your turn. So that way your cars don't go off like that one that we had in the back there. I believe that was Dutton again, as they're just getting through the back half of this race.
Yeah, Joel Duton will not be very happy about his spin. That was just running a little deep through the corner, trying to be a bit too aggressive on the power. Nuno Ricciardo now sets the fastest lap of the race, and he will now be taking those fastest lap bonus points that are available. Here is Zegalar, who's having himself a chase to try and gain back some positions as he tries to get wide in the mirrors. Oliveira, Javier Sequendez just in front. Alvaro Rodriguez is also there too. So this is where the group is. Wide goes Rodriguez, and he'll start to just clip the gravel slightly. It opens up the door through the Sterling Moss S as they run on through now over towards turn 4 on the outward curve. On the brakes they go, trying to find that move around the outside. And I tell you what, Sequendez is driving absolutely beautifully because he has got the line, and now he'll have the power up the hill.
And with that drag race down the back stretch here, it'll be interesting to see if he can cover off that inside line, make sure he has it for that hairpin to get that perfect run through there and continue to take advantage of that curve.
Yeah. And now look as they charge through. A little bit of blinking is definitely not going to help Luis Suarez here in regards to David Geddes out there on circuit. So that will be a huge point of concern because he won't be able to naturally work out where his driver is. He's phasing in and out, and you can definitely sense that all of these drivers will know that they're going to be on a tight leash.
Yes, between the cars in front, cars behind, everybody trying to make up positions and keep going. It's definitely tight racing for pretty much everywhere in the field in various respects. So.
And here for second, this is one of them. Sandoval will have to be on the defense. Nuno Ricciardo finds himself in third. Fourth position is Stefan Alderding trying to recover, and both those positions mightily important. You wonder whether Alderding might err on the side of caution at this moment in time in the Sweat Sim Racing car after the issues that he found earlier on in his battle with another of the three wide racing cars in Luis Suarez.
Definitely. Playing it safe with these two cars in front, biding his time to try to make that podium position happen at the right moment, not too early, not too late, and when he's able to do so without getting caught up in another accident.
Yeah, that's going to be the key here. It's just making sure that there is a clean pass. The stewards will look at all the incidents after the race, so there will be a little bit of jostling that goes around with it. Suarez still having to be very alert to David Geddes out there in terms of the race. And oh, it is Geddes around. And that would have been because of the blinking, no idea where he was. And as such, there's contact and he goes around, and you feel like David Geddes then takes himself out of a situation that really wasn't going to be very helpful for him. On the brakes, Sequendez then for the Makisa Motorsport team, trying to find that move, but it's not quite there just yet.
Yeah, if you don't have that inside line on the hairpin, it's definitely way harder to get through the rest of these corners in this tight section where you can go too wide, but if you don't have a good run out of any of them, you'll end up behind the car you're racing alongside.
Yeah, and that is where the keys of the race are. There's the look on the inside, a wide line taken then by the lap traffic of David Balázs, the Hungarian, trying to stay well out of the way of all of these drivers. Right now, big snap from Suarez trying to get the power down and get on and away. The time that it has cost him is massive here. Weston is at least 3 seconds down the road now from Suarez, and that is huge. Robson also looking to try and find moves out on circuit. He's got his eyes firmly set on Anton Simeonov here, trying to find the place. Duarte just behind as well. Pulls to the outside, so it'll be the road hard travel. But look at the damage on the front then from Simeonov. That's going to cost him in a straight line.
That it will, both in the straight line as well as maybe in some of the turns, depending on if that damage has been transferred into the front two tires and their suspension systems. Scary cars trying to make that zipper without causing another accident.
Yeah, that's about as close as it gets, and Sequendez down the inside then trying to find the pass back on Suarez for position, and this might be a management moment because he's now going to have that run up the hill and then it plateaus and you start to descend for the braking zone. So this is a crucial phase right now in terms of where they've got the pace. The lap traffic pulls up along with it as well. They'll go wing mirror to wing mirror as they hit the brakes, but Sequendez will get that one sorted. There's a bit of contact there behind as Oliveira finds himself in place, still side by side as they go 6 shooting into the revolver, and now goes Sequendez.
Oh, just trying to go too wide through there, not giving each other space, and that will turn Sequendez around the front nose of Oliveira's as they keep going around the rest of the circuit. It's always frustrating when you get caught up in that.
And through goes Nuno Ricciardo. He's found his way up into second. He's got that done. Then through the beautiful left-hand hairpin of Redmond Corner. So He has done a brilliant job then to jump up into that second position. The serpentine showing. Now look at Stefan Olderding's car. This is why he's struggling to move through, because he knows that he's got damage. Pedro Marimon has got his eyes firmly set forward. You can see him on the helmet. He very much wants to move up now an extra place up into fourth. This is a great drive by SDC Spirit 14 Racing.
That it is definitely a good set of racing, good amount of time being caught up to Alderding, maybe getting past him by the end of these last 10 minutes. We'll have to see. A little hard on the brakes, a little late, but manages to keep it out of the back end of Alderding.
Yep, so now it's about power up the hill, and Marimon here, who has done well to latch on to the back of this group. They're now going to be too wide. The Spirit 14 cars go to the left-hand side of the circuit. Sandavara trying to get back at Nuno Ricciardo for position here. On the brakes they will go, looking for the move there. The Catalan flag on Marimon's machinery there on the wing mirrors, as he now needs to drive off of the exit and move through. There's nowhere to turn for Stefan Olderding. You can't pinch him like that, and he will be the unlucky loser in that battle.
He just got caught out in all of that, and will have to do some time to make up. That top end is definitely hurting from that damage, as well as probably the turning as well, and most of that car is going to be limping its way to the finish.
Weston still looking to recover. This is Mackenzie Mann, who is tied at the moment for the hardest charger in this field, and actually it might be Anton Simeonov who started to join that. He's up 17, but Weston here looking for the overtake, looking for that opportunity to make another position climb up again, rushing around now through the final two corners. Mike Knight and over into the last corner. Duarte is also in his scrap still, so don't count him out of gaining a few places late, because he's got himself through now on Simon Robson. Jumps him up now into 15th position, blinking about a little bit. So he's another driver looking to make some moves late, and we are down now to just inside the last 7 minutes of this race. You're now setting yourself up for where can you find an extra place?
It's definitely going to be that final push. Where can you make that final mistake? Capitalize off that final mistake. Not where you want to make it, obviously, but where you want to capitalize off somebody else, as we almost saw something on that line. Good run. Looks like it's coming from Vare as we go down the backstretch.
Sandavara has unlocked the inside compared to Nuno Ricciardo, who slightly ran wide there through turn 4. That opened up the door. Now he's got to cede some room here on that inside. Tries to brake late and hold around the outside. Tiny bit of front to rear contact, but he gets what he wants, which is the inside line at the revolver. But he spins it, and he'll catch Vara. He'll catch Marimon, and Olderding will just slide around them all.
And what was I talking about earlier about that mistake? That was the moment Alderding was waiting for. Play back, play safe. He's already got a damaged car, limping it to the finish, and that was just the moment he was waiting for. I think.
Oh, and they were stuck there. They just hooked on the front there of their bumpers, and bang! I think that's another driver who's going to get caught up in all of that and won't be too pleased. That's Mark Chu, who's going to be on the wrong side of that, and his race will be pretty much all but done with that hit. So that one, multifaceted, and again, it changed the complexity, and there's more.
There is more contact there as we're getting through the last right-hander, last of the final set of right-handers, and cars are trying to make their final positions and make up time there.
Look, they're all looking quite modified at this moment. Anton Simeonov is certainly one of them at this stage as they now try to navigate through the final corners. Simon Robson, Javier Sequendez, David Mitchell, all looking to gain, and look at the difference you can see on this straight as Robson on the outside heading to the first corner starts to put himself into position, trying to slide around the outside, and there's more. Round he goes, and they're going to hook, and that's not the way you want that to go.
That's definitely not the way you want to end your race. Trying to get a little too overconfident with this car. It doesn't like to drive beyond its limit, and it will let you know that in terms of just spinning on you.
It absolutely will. There is Nuno Ricciardo, who's fallen all the way back to 12th position with Sandavara, and now up the hill, trying to maximise what is there and available in terms of power. Now it's going to be important to look towards that inside line and gain that place. On the brakes is going to be an important battleground here between these two, and with 4 minutes to go, what can they find? Round the outside, Vara on the inside looks like he's going to cover this off, but he's he's not got full guarantees here as they go side by side. 3-wide racing car on the inside. It's going to make sure there's a hold. And lest we forget, there's a great scrap going on here for 4th place here in this race, because you got 4 who all want it here behind Alexander Nikolov, who's just gone through on Pedro Marimon, because you've got him as well as Mackenzie Mann and Tom Weston. What a recovery by Weston this is.
That it definitely is. That early incident, coming back from it and making plenty of places back up for it, and just trying to do the most and make the most of these last few minutes before the end of the race.
Yeah, you know that you can't score any more points after the checkered flag. You just have to go on then to the next month and try and see where that's available. Up and under is going along from Weston. He now knows he's got to go around the outside at the off-camber turn 2. He'll get the drive off the exit because he's on the flat. He can put the power down a little bit earlier as we look from the back of Nikolov, the Frenchman. And now here comes the search through the Moss S. Big wide line by Mackenzie Mann. Room given on the brakes of the outward curve. Weston, brilliantly done.
Absolutely, finding the time to apply the power down as we ran down the S's, and coming through, make sure you have that inside line on that curve before the back stretch, just to really maximize that potential there.
Yeah, and then the run is tempered. Victor Oliveira is also looking for a move here, and that is the recovering Luis Suarez on the inside, but it is the run from Oliveira. Look how much later Suarez can jump on the brakes, and he covers it off at the hairpin without too much malaise in this race. Easy pickings then as they continue on and look to try and charge on forward. It has been a long course of running at this moment in time, and everybody is knowing that at the final stages of this race, the one thing you don't want to be doing is getting caught up in troubles, and a lot of these drivers know that there is one place left. Weston on the back here in 6th position. He now looks at Pedro Marimon.
That he does. He looks like he's going to try to make a nice over-under, or potentially grabbing that inside line back through the Moss S. And again, the next lap around, we'll have to see if he is able to keep this car from getting away from him. And I'm excited. These are always fun.
These are such intense battles, and there's the defensive move across from Marimon. Weston still had to come across a bit more. They will go bumper to bumper through the first corner. Now it's a fight to Williams. Marimon doesn't want to yield, so Weston will take the uber wide line, and of course, because it's off camber, he's going to lose out a little bit there on that run because he can't get the turn in. Brilliant work by Marimon. He took full advantage of the track.
He certainly did, and is continuing to do so, find these perfect lines. Weston's sticking his nose in, trying to get that good line off the inside of the curve, and it's just good racing from all 3 of these, trying to make up this position for 4th.
Yeah, and there is your race leader. There will be one more lap after this. Such is the pace of Christian Bissarov, and this has been an absolute romp. 14 seconds to the good. It's not often that you get to see that in terms of racing. He has just kept it out of trouble, and everyone else has caught themselves in it.
Absolutely. I think that has been the name of the game for Bissarov, and just keeping the nose clean, keeping the car going in the right direction for 25 minutes has kept him firmly in the lead, with very little after that incident that took out both second, third, and 4th. So it's been good racing for him.
The white flag will be waved by Barney. It's not going to be like Daytona where they're going to throw the checkered flag 2 minutes early. But Weston now looking for the drive, and up and under. Marimon has had to be so staunch in his defense that they've let Alexander Nikolov get away from them. And now it's very much a case of these drivers towards the end of this race. How many places can they gain on this last lap? Front stretch looking, and look at the swarm that's behind if they don't get it right. Oliveira, Suarez, and Zegalar on that last lap took nearly 2 seconds out of this group. They will be there by the end of this race.
That they will, and if anybody in front of them messes up, it's going to be more positions for them that they're making back up from these earlier incidences. So it's definitely going to be managing this last lap and making the most of these final few corners, keeping it clean, whatever they try to do in terms of final movements.
Western then trying to have a search. It's all about this run through the outward curve, up the hill, and then trying to challenge. This is where you've got to be so awake and alert. And now here comes the chance then for the move under the Lexus signage. Now which way do you want to go? It's hard covered on the inside. It will have to be to the outside for Western. Maybe Mackenzie Mann wants to split the difference. He decides to back out of it here as they all try and drive through around the outside. There might be a search, but it's held off once again, and quite nicely, it must be said. But to the front, where Christian Bisserov is now 2 corners away and just 1 corner away. It has been his world, and everyone else has just been living in it. It's a dominant drive by Bisserov. He takes round 1 and comfortably says, I am the yardstick here in the Club Series.
Celebrating before he even passes that front straight, and that I'm losing my mind over here, enjoying this.
Yeah, Olderding will be second. Damian McMullen will get a fantastic podium, having started 16th today on the grid. The drive over for the line. It's a long haul towards the line as they try and find position. I think it's just going to be held here by Tom Weston for 6th position. He's done well to recover to get that place. Likes of Sander Barrow will feel a little bit hard done by. One more driver there. I believe that's Kleatros Duvancis then, as the graphic doesn't quite show it, against Javier Sequendes, then for position. And I think Duvancis here is going to be in a bit of a drag race, but that small slipstream there is going to be enough to get that one all sorted. So they will all jump over the line and get their finishes as the last of the drivers will go through. We'll take this chance now to go through the race results as the last of the drivers will head themselves over the line. A dominant display up in front then by Bisserov. You couldn't argue too much about that. 26 minutes, 34 seconds. He won by 14 3/4 when all was said and done. Stefan Olderding would finish off second with Damian McMullen in third, Alexander Nikolov fourth, and Pedro Manamon in fifth, held a slew behind. That slew included Tom Weston, Mackenzie Mann, Victor Oliveira, and Luis Suarez. Rene Zegelar on the back of that group rounded out the top 10.
And going into 11th position is going to be Nuno Ricardo, Sander Vade rounding out your 12th, David Mitchell in 13th, Amanda Bacchus is going to be 14th, Simeon Robson 15th, I'm going to butcher some of these names, and I apologize. Klecharas Deventis is going to be 16th, Javier Secundes is going to be 17th, Marcus Suarez is going to be 18th, Michael Ellett is going to be 19th, and Martin Smith is going to round out your top 20.
Over to 21st position then, that will be Stephen Orrell's recovery in the Darius Scary Machine. You then have Thomas Martinez and Brett Rye, 22nd and 23rd, with Anton Simeonov and Alvaro Rodriguez then in 25th position. Kalle Rantanen would be 26th, the Finn with Sir Alan Toon and David Geddes, 27th and 28th, Bruno Albino 29th, and Mark Tew will be in 30th position overall. All these drivers further on are laps down or retirees. They include Sergio Duarte, David Balaj, Jojo Patrick, Arturo de Villa, Leon Vortas, Joel Duton, and Nicholas Norwood, making up the 37 drivers then in this race. We're going to step aside for just one moment here with the Global SimRacing Channel. When we come back, we will turn our attention over stateside. We will head away from Okayama and over to Watkins Glen. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your Simify MX5 World Sim Series. A fantastic display in Division 3. We hop over the Pacific Ocean to Watkins Glen in upstate New York to get two more races in the books. Division 2 and Division 1 are next up on the list, but there is still a lot that has come through in terms of the racing. Joining us now, live via satellite link, will be Damien McMullen, who finished third overall in the club series. He stood by with Fen Woodruff.
Great job getting onto that podium, Damien. What was your least favorite part of that experience of trying to get up to that podium and all the incidents that were happening in that race?
Absolute nerves that were kicking in from the start. I qualified bad with this whole one lap system. You're very anxious on your tires because they're very cold, but yeah, wow, what a race. Wow.
Definitely something that was well earned, that third position, and almost just staying safe than well as raw speed. How does it feel to be into the third position this time around?
For when I qualified, I was a bit disappointed in my qualification, but as I said, just keep the head down for 25 minutes. Anything can happen, and just getting a top 5 would be in the bonus, but this was just icing on the cake for the first round.
Marvelous. Anyone you want to thank as you get that podium's position in the belt for the first race of the season?
I just wanted to thank my sponsors, CIE, Padeo Nation, and Newtone for jumping on board again for another year, and to your lads for commentating, and to the crew that own Run MX5 Championship. Thank you.
Awesome. Marvelous. That has been Damien McMullen, our P3 finisher over in the first race.
Yeah, you definitely do get that sense that we were live by satellite link there. He's certainly a driver who has all of his emotions out there, and he'll be looking to try and get as much as he can forward over his season. But Watkins Glen is the sort of circuit that often needs no introduction. It's one of the great American classics out there and has been a staple of racing for over half a century. But let's get an understanding of it here with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time.
Watkins Glen, an incredibly fast circuit, and this is, especially with the slower machinery in the iRacing service, the most brilliant track in terms of overtaking. It's the classic boot layout here today. There's no chicane, there's no bus stop there, which means, Fen, today, all these drivers are looking for that overtake through the outer loop.
That they are is going to be that entire section as we get to the outer loop is going to be a huge position for overtaking, for being defensive. Big driving moments are going to be happening there. As we start the turn, we have the 90, that nice right-hander out of the start-finish line. We travel up through the S's, and that's where we're going to try to get as much speed as they can going down that back straight with no chicane there, no bus stop. It's going to all be about managing that as much speed as they can, get whatever slipstream they can to get the best option going into the outer loop. Down through the chute, around the toe, through the heel, and then back down to the start-finish line is going to wrap out that 11-turn classic boot layout, 3.4 miles or 5.7 kilometers, and about a 2-minute 10-second lap time, depending on how good you are around this track.
This is going to be the sort of circuit where drivers are trying to pick up a moment, and those S's, I think, are going to be the most crucial on the opening lap. You are definitely going to sense drivers in the middle of the pack check up and look to try and find a lane, and that might be the point of potential that all those drivers are trying to avoid at this moment in time. One thing we can say, though, is that qualifying is currently underway. We've got 10 minutes once more on the clock. One qualifying lap is available in the back pocket, and it's all about how much can you push in terms of finding those lap times. Everybody knows here that this is Division 2, so they went through their seeding qualifyings to try and get themselves the best positions possible. That was done last week on a Friday to Monday basis, Fen, and the big key about that sort of qualifying is, yes, you only get 3 laps there in terms of your hot shot qualifying to try and get through, but drivers, of course, like Damian McMullen, for example, of course, will do double duty. They'll run in the club series, which is the free-to-enter series that anyone can jump in with, but they'll also take the chance and jump along here in the MX5 World Sim Series, jumping into Division 2, trying to get as much as possible out of the series.
Definitely. And if you're already spending 25 minutes on the evening, you might as well spend another 25 and get 2 for 1 in terms of your racing time. Sure, you might have a little bit of a gap in there if you're doing really well during those seeding weekends, but ultimately it's more race and it's more time to have fun as well as earn some positions and do well and maybe even get into that world final at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, that world final, of course, in December is going to be huge, but all of these drivers know that you can't get there without a good qualifying, first and foremost at the opening round. Rushing through turn 10, looking towards turn 11, there is Victor Plymouth, who is there, the Swede, the independent driver, looking then in the number 63 car to get as much as possible out of this lap. And you start to really sense as the first times come in, who's going to get what. Mateu Camus is then currently the fastest, but he's usurped by Laurent Sebastian, who puts a 207.4 down, as Willem van Rassel can only go 8th fastest, 7/10 adrift. Miles Owen then gets the fastest lap, and that improves over to a 2:07, but then is usurped by Jordanin Svetanov. Then a fantastic lap by his standards, number 36 then, getting absolutely everything and then some out of that qualifying lap. Still a half dozen drivers, or a dozen drivers, I should say, looking to try and get all of those times. But here is Albert Palahi out there on a flyer, or was out on a flyer, but now isn't anymore here, Fen.
That he is not. He's just kind of wrapping up his qualifying. Again, with this super pole, you only have 1 lap to make as much time as you can. So for all those people who finish their laps, they might just try to bring it back into the pit until they decide to then pull over, get out of the car. But we're going to see the last of these finish up as we get through the final few minutes of qualifying.
Mackenzie Mann is out there on an outlap. So too is the number 39 car, Jameson Sampaio, who is going to be one of the keys to look out there in qualifying. Pedro Marimon is out there at the moment on a flyer. We saw how Pedro went in the club race earlier, and now dancing through the outer loop, trying to carry as much speed as possible. Don't overshoot it on the exit. You now have to make that switch back down into the chute corner, which is all about holding that momentum, carrying as much speed as you can down the hill. It is very much a road circuit here, Ben, that has the street circuit vibe.
That it does, that street circuit vibe where momentum is everything for these cars, even more so at places like this, as well as other street circuits that are actually street circuits and not just have those feels. Managing as much of that speed, keeping it with you as you go from corner to corner and round the S's to get up to that nice top end, max out those gears and that speed just to get the most out of your lap time.
Madamon's got a very, very sharp front end of that machine heading through the heel of the boot and up the hill, off camber, turn 9. try and hug that yellow line on the inside. Use as much as you can on the exit. And now you're to 10 and 11. 150 Ks going through 155, keeping the speed pretty much stable going through that section. And now you're going to have to drop down the gears slightly. 140K right up against the wall. You can't afford to touch it. Otherwise, that's a 0x instant and the lap will be invalidated. Madam on over the line, 207.8. That's good enough for 11th fastest.
That it is. We're seeing a few others just kind of wrap up their times. I believe Michael Tangretta is also getting done, as well as Jameson Sampaio is on his flyer.
He is, and he, of course, is part of a team with his young son, Enzo, who will be going in at the top division. Jameson, of course, the father, in this second split is surely one of the favourites, along with Svetinov, Miles Owens, Laurent Sebastian, who's up there, Nick DeBeck has had a good qualifying as well. Mackenzie Mann also out there on a qualifying lap, which leaves just two drivers who haven't been able to, three drivers who haven't set a time. Edward Gross, Scott Angelo, and James Shrimpton are those. And look how aggressive Jameson is trying to be here over the course of this lap. This is a crucial point of contention for him. He knows how important the lap time is going to be. 2:07 flat is the time he is looking to beat. Really going to the extremities of the circuit. Has a little slight wiggle through the middle of the corner, but look at how much he tries to drive off of the exit. Straight as you like, heading towards the line. Sampaio will cross 2:07.3. He will get the second row of the grid, which is not too bad. All things considered, Mann will now look to try and get over the line and will be effectively out on circuit, the last driver to set a lap time. Nobody else can go better by that regard. And over the line, it's a 2:10.5 by Mann, a conservative effort that is bottom of those who have set a time, down in 31st position. So that will be everybody over the line, which will then take us in the next couple of moments over towards the Simify starting grid. Simify is your one-stop shop for all of your sim racing gear and equipment. Choose from iconic brands and bundles in an array of physical hardware to get your leg up on the competition. Simify ships worldwide and also have 2 sim racing centers, both in Madrid and Barcelona. Use the discount code MX5WSS at checkout to receive a discount on your sim racing purchase by visiting www.simify.com today. 5 seconds remain officially in qualifying as the checker flag will officially come out then and expire this qualifying session. It will be Jordanin Svetinov who will be on the pole position. Alongside him for company will be Miles Owens. Jameson Sampaio starts third, with 4th position belonging to Laurent Sebastian. Nick DeBeck goes from 5th alongside Rene Zegelar. Roy Charles will go from 7th place, with Victor Oliveira in 8th. Mateu Camus will go from 9th, and Tucker Solya will round out the top 10.
In 11th, you're going to have Jarno Lore, and in 12th, we'll have Pedro Marimon in row 6. Row 7 is going to be headed by Alexandre Longo and Matt Tempest in 14th. In 15th is Christian Heinrichs and Stefan Dumas for 16th. 17th is Albert Palahi, and Mick Robinson, is going to be your 18th position driver. 19th is going to be Damian McMullen, our P3 finisher from the last race, and Patrick Alders is going to round out your top 20.
Over the page then, it's Blackjack for Sandavara, starts 21st, and it's an all-Dutch 11th row with Willem van Rassel alongside. Michael Tannegretta then from the organisation is 23rd alongside Peter Reid, with Charles Kellyman, the Jamaican, and Melvin Tyne in 26th position. Tony Wallace and Victor Plymouth will go 27th and 28th, with Martin Schmidt 29th and Stephen Elder in 30th. The last 4 drivers then will be Mackenzie Mann, the last set of time, and then by iRacing, Scott Angelo, James Shrimpton, and Edward Gross will make up the 34 that will be tackling this Watkins Glen circuit. This, the prelude over to your main event of racing, which will come along just after this 25-minute, I would say, showcase that they've got. Track conditions right now, 27 degrees Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit. It's right in the wheelhouse for a good race, and that we definitely can say it's fixed weather conditions. It will be like this the whole way around. Just waiting for the final few drivers to get on, because we will now have your light sequence starting. Let's get ready here. It's Division 2 here at Watkins Glen, and we are underway. It's very much a smoky start from those off the front of the field. Pretty even between Svetinov, Owens and Sampaio as they make the rush through. Everybody managing to scuttle through the front stretch without too many dramas. Flying through the right, heavy over the curve goes Svetinov, but Sampaio finds himself side by side with Miles Owens, who will go now up through the S's, and this is where you start to find struggle street. Everyone looks for a lane.
And further back in the grid, there's going to be a big crash. The front half looks to be trying to do the zipper as we have another car off behind, and the cars go flying. Oh, even bigger crash. Rap brings up a few individuals. Alvaro Rodriguez may be one of them, and just more carnage.
Rene Zegalar was the start of that, and everybody else gets caught up in comparison. That's always the worry. Look at this at the front of the field. They're going to scrap for everything they've got right now. Svetinov somehow still holds, but Owens is there. Sampaio, Laurent Sebastian, and the group now formed. Draft is going to be so key here today at Watkins Glen. Roy Charles in 5th. You've got Nick de Beck in 6th, and Oliveira and Solia are 7th and 8th. Nick de Beck, the Belgian, in 6th for the Digitrack Sim Racing team. We'll see just in front of him down the inside. Roy Charles will gain one side by side for the lead. Miles Owens looking for the chance to move through on a Jordan Svetinov.
Definitely some nice, tight, clean racing across these top 10 contenders currently, giving each other space at those apexes and exits, just trying to make sure that they don't cause more chaos than what they saw in their rearview mirror.
Yeah, they are certainly looking for ways to go forward to gain as much place as possible up through turn number 9 and drive it off the exit, gain a little bit more. This group has escaped from everybody else. A number of drivers in trouble on the opening lap. We will have to go back, try and find a replay at some point to see exactly where the breakdown of everyone getting caught up in troubles is. Big wiggle at the front from Svetinov, then who leads. GSRC replay then at the end of your first lap. It starts with Stefan Dumas, and this is how easily it can go wrong at Watkins.
That it can, soon as Dumas getting tipped over, and then just more cars getting caught up as those cars go bouncing off of each other in that massive pack that was in the back of the opening grid as we get back to what is happening over at the top of the order.
Yeah, they'll now start to climb up through the S's here, and it's all about picking and choosing. You're going to have to be very, very brave to find the places that you need, and already looking to search for a move then is Laurent Sebastian, the Dutchman, trying to find a way forward. Miles Owens then to the outside, car in the grass there on the outside. That's Victor Oliveira who gets it wrong with a small tap from behind from Tucker-Solia, and that's him done. But look at this, they're all going to start going 3 wide as they rush on through. Roy Charles, look at him go, he's up to 2nd.
Beautiful pass made by Roy Charles, getting him up to 2nd. Nice, clean move of the inside, and he is holding that position from Sampaio as well as Svetinov.
And Sampaio takes a tap through the chute. That there going forward is Svetinov. Now Nick de Beck on the outside of the toe of the boot. Have you got steel toe caps to try and get yourself through this section? No, de Beck runs wide. Laurent Sebastian will sneak through. Maybe Tucker-Solia is going to join as well. 3 wide almost off of the exit up the hill. Look how strong the draft is.
That is very big and also very important when it comes to this track, is having that draft. That way your car is not fighting. Not a ton of aero, if any, on these MX5s to really help you in that regard. So drafting is almost a must for the high end. Oh.
Big hit on Laurent Sebastian. Nick de Beck forcing a way forward, and that was a case of wrench on the wheel. Why don't we, Laurent? And they are now at risk of seeing the top 4 run away if they're not too careful. The gap is 1 second. At 1.5 the rubber band snaps, and that's what Nick de Beck suddenly realizes, and he's going to need a couple straights here that's going to play into his hands. But a couple of laps then in the books and some smiles all round, but there are going to be a few drivers who are not going to be happy with the start of this race. They all hit the brakes. Roy Charles the fastest lap, but down the inside then for 5th place. Laurent Sebastian gets it done, but it's going to run off the circuit a little bit here off the exit, and they're going to scramble up the S's.
And that they are going straight up and trying to get as much speed as they can up those S's and down onto the back straight. Going to utilize that draft we were talking about just a moment ago, and it's going to be seeing how they can manage that speed to get it down through the outer curve.
Yeah, and now it's about the slipstream and on to the race lead. Roy Charles, who started in 7th position on the grid, now gets that done. But Svetanov, who was giving him the push, is now going to decide, I want to get up the inside, and he's going to manage it. That was Owens having to really get on the brakes because his nose was about to be chopped off if he wasn't too careful. Svetanov now your race leader once again, and it's going to be that game of where do you want to be heading to the final lap on that section. All of a sudden, the group's starting to coalesce once again.
That they are. With that draft and the change of leaders, the overall pace of these groups have allowed the last 5, 6, and 7 to catch up to the top 4 drivers there as they are shifting who has the first place baton.
The Malaysian Roy Charles is pretty much trying to hold some station there, and as Jameson Sampaio had a little look, but it was just that, a little look out there in terms of the circuit there from the RC Racing driver. Let's take a look then at the GSRC replay then, and this is what happened then for Pedro Marimon on the early stages. So the incident happens in front there for Laurent Sebastian, and he takes a hefty shunt into the barriers up the hill. A lot of G-forces go away. Secondary contact there. One of the GTD cars gets caught up, and then everyone tries to find a way through the shuffle with a completely blocked track. It was nice to see the marshals there having a nice leisurely chat amongst each other.
That they were. Just taking a moment, realizing that there's probably not a whole ton they can do for those cars at that point. Well, until they get stopped and then tow them off the track. So
that's certainly one thing that's in the mind. It brings itself back to a group of 7 here at the front of this field. So it's not all lost. Second group that's chasing is Albert Palahi, Jarno Leray, and Damien McMullen. So those are the 3 that's chasing. But look at this, a bit of Noah's Ark sim racing. They're too wide, they're too deep. On this run, Laurent Sebastian for Taramundi might decide to run through the middle of all of them here, trying to pick up some side draft. This is an incredible look. He's going to go from 5th to 1st on the run of 1 straight. Big look around the outside. Does he have the grip to hold on to place, to hold on to statement? Roy Charles is not going to take this one lying down. They'll continue their scrap, too wide, too deep, down the hill into the chute. He takes the lead away.
that he does. Beautiful racing over there from Sebastian as they go through that nice long S and back straight. Those side draft, very important, but also the ability to recognize and give space for each other to not crash anything. Brilliant move by Laurent Sebastian.
It's placement, and it shows that you can be fifth heading on to the final lap and still have a shot of taking the race lead away. And that's what everyone's going to be nervous about. Which position do you want to be? Jordan Svetanov round the outside of the heel of the boot, trying to take the crest up the rise. We're not even halfway yet through this race, and some incredible action is starting to get themselves into play at this moment. Sliding a little bit wide goes Sebastian, and he gathers it up just in front of Jameson Sampaio, the Brazilian. And in the background there, that group definitely not coordinating between Lorraine McMullen and Palahi, and that's allowing these drivers the ability to scrap for this race.
That they are, but they also aren't losing those last three cars. It's all this one nice long almost train from first to seventh, and then you also have, I believe, lap traffic in the middle of all this. It's going to be very interesting to see where the final laps bring for these drivers.
Yeah, and those final laps will be crucial. All of this is just the prelude. Everybody is just shuffling for their last place in this Shakespearean tragedy. For someone, it will be triumph. Up the hill through the S's, Roy Charles is looking. We're on board with Nick DeBeck on the back of the group here in seventh. Watches it bottles up, and everybody looks to search for an angle here. Gap slightly open with Tucker Sawyer, but look at how they all search around, trying to find a space. It's Miles Owens now who's going to try and go through the middle. He saw what Sebastian did earlier on. He's going to try and follow on the brakes down the inside. He goes now from fifth to first.
And it's just going to be I think we're gonna have rotating who has first, because who decides to take that middle line of that side draft that opens up that little column in the center, and just who's gonna be rotating through that. And it'll be interesting to see who does that on the last lap for that first position final win.
Yeah, so at this moment, Laurent Sebastian didn't want to give away that race lead, but ultimately has to. Down the inside goes Svetinov. He covers off Roy Charles, but he goes a little bit deep. So here comes the up and under up the hill, needing a little bit of slipstream off of Sampaio here. They'll be door mirror to door mirror. Here's Sampaio looking to try and find the pass on Sebastian, who gets himself in the slipstream of Miles Owens, who leads this race outright. On the brakes, too deep from Svetinov. Owens gets turned, and there's the bottleneck. 1, 2, 3, 4, all getting caught up.
And that was that tragedy you were talking about just a moment ago for those who have victory and tragedy. Tragedy is struck for a lot of our top leaders there, as through goes Sampaio and many other drivers after that top.
Yeah, sneaking through McMullen, Leray, Palahi, they all managed to get through. It's down to 3 at the front. There's James Shrimpton. What a run is James Shrimpton and Edouard Gross having in this race. I believe Gross is probably the best driver of the lot at the moment here, who started 34th on the grid, and with Svetinov his next overtake in mind, he will now put himself in the Sweat Sim Racing car inside the top 10.
That it will. Beautiful driving from Gross over there, making the moves, staying out of trouble, taking the moment to kind of breathe, let the action unfold in front of him, and find that gap.
Not the place you want to be if you're Stephen Elder. The lap traffic is Jarno Leray, the Belgian, who will go through. McMullen and Palahi are trying to follow. You don't want to be out of line here up through the second part. It's so easy just to clip the wall on the outside, but this is where the slipstream's going to be key. Sampaio then, side by side, goes with Laurent Sebastian, who was the catalyst for that incident half a lap ago. Tucker Sawyer also got through all of that malaise that was there, and now he will sit on the back in the popcorn seat, watching these two scrap it out down the hill over towards the chute.
And that's almost the best place to be, because there you have the room to kind of react to whatever the first two cars do. It's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up in these top 3 podium spots.
Yeah, and now with these 3 scrapping it out for the podium, they know they've just got to be clever. They've just got to buy their ticket to the end of the race. There's no point in throwing this race away early, buy a ticket, but right now they're dancing on top of the train, so to speak, looking to try and find each position that they can. Jameson on the outside gets very deep on the brakes. He'll now try and track extend off the exit, and he will take the lead. It's a little bit naughty, but it's good enough.
I would say he didn't hit Sebastian in his effort to do so it could be worse, and in terms of dirty racing. But it's going to be definitely see if he can hold on to that as we get to the next outer curve at the next lap.
Just goes to show you here today just how troublesome the racing has been. I would put it down as right now less than 20 cars within a minute at the moment in this race, which goes to show you that drama has befallen quite a few drivers up and down this order. On board with Tucker Sawyer here, the American, on the brakes going in towards turn 1. The 90 used to be the first corner on the circuit, but in reverse, this used to be the old front stretch here, this short shoot run up towards the S's. They used to run counterclockwise, not clockwise, up through the S's. Sawyer happy to sit behind. In comes Roy Charles, the damage far too much.
Absolutely, going to take that spare car and get back out on the racetrack without losing too many more positions. But it's better to have, I think, a clean car that'll run for you than a dirty car that will then just keep losing you time.
Yeah, Tucker Sawyer's there, but still, there's 4th, 5th, and 6th to decipher as well, because you've got Palahi, who now finds a way through on McMullen, looking at Jarno Leray, who now finds himself in that 4th position, and on the brakes they go, and Leray holds on to it. But whoa, how wide do you want to go, Laurent? That could very easily have been huge dramas. Tucker Sawyer goes to the outside, looking for that place that was very nearly in the wall and out. It shows how much Sebastian is pushing. Sawyer, who started 10th position in this race, is now your race leader.
What a race Sawyer has had trying to get up to this position and able to maximize on some of the mistakes the other drivers in front of him have made up until this point. Now, if he can just hold on to it or hang out with these top 3, he definitely will at least secure himself a podium finish, if not the win itself.
Yeah, on the brakes he goes. Now, they've all got to be careful. Now, a lot of drivers like to resort to the bump draft, but there is that level of fragility here, Fen, when it comes to the bodywork on the front. And you can see there's a lot of beating and banging of those front panels, which are going to have to be virtually hammered out by the time they look towards Zolder 1 month from now. So that's going to be their one concern as James Shrimpton in the J93 racing car moves down the inside at the heel of the boot and moves into the top 10.
That he does, taking that 10th position. And it's, yeah, definitely going to be a lot of repair work for these virtual sim crews as they get ready for Zolder next month. And I think it's definitely going to be something we'll see a lot less bump drafting on over at Zolder than we will here.
We absolutely will, but there is Stefan Dumas, who is with Charles Kellyman in the optical machine, Jamaican, finding troubles at the front. There are a lot of troubles out there at the moment because Sampaio up the hill is now having to defend both of these drivers trying to pick an angle. Sawyer then on the outside, the Taramundi machine of Laurent Sebastian is now going to try and find a way through. There's a bit of traffic which can help Jameson Sampaio here. That's Melvin Tyne in the Sweat Sim Racing machine that they're going to have to try and navigate a way around. Not taking all of the draft here, but look at the squeeze. Past then through the chicane and in towards the outer loop once more, sometimes known as the carousel on the cup layout. But that is brilliantly done by Jameson Sampaio. He hedges his bets and he still holds on with 9 minutes remaining.
That he does, able to keep that lead while utilizing some of that draft from lap traffic. It's going to be interesting to see if he has that luck next lap and the laps after as we get into the final 10 minutes here of who will be in the top of the shuffle that seems to happen on every backstretch.
Yeah, but they shuffle. The more that they do it, the more game theory comes into play. They are side by side behind for fourth. It's Loray has just made the move on Albert Palahi, but Palahi's going to come back here on the timing tower and gain that place away. Sawyer we focus on at the moment as there's the little search in the mirrors by Laurent Sebastian. Now they're going to use every trick in the Sim Racer's hand guide, which is make the car as wide as possible, don't hit your teammate, everything and then some. Jarno Loray just about holding off Palahi there, getting an up and under sorted.
That he is trying to hold on to this P4 position, see if he can make up the few seconds that he can to try to get some time between him and the rest of that pack that are kind of following in his wake. But with that draft, I don't think it's something that's going to be managed very easily on his own.
No, it's not going to be the easiest case in the world of where can you find the place and pace and everything else that you've got out there. And if this group continues to scrap out as much as it is, it might allow Willem van Rassel, who is there in the background, to chase up onto this group from 7th position. So there's going to be worries about him and Edouard Gross, who is making great progress. Those two drivers are maybe the only two who can catch this group in 4th, 5th and 6th. That's going to be their main focus in the final stages of this Division 2 race.
That is going to be their focus. I think it is also not too unreasonable for James Shrimpton to possibly kind of fight DeBeck for 9th as the leaders will once again swap hands as they begin their run down the back stretch.
Yeah, and now the lap traffic's getting involved as well, which is not what the doctor has ordered in this group. Melvin Tyne is sticking his nose in, and that'll be an extra body in the mixer, and that will be a cause of concern for everyone. Stays at the back of this group, but now Sawyer, down on the inside, has the line away at this section, sliding it through as he goes by. He leaves a full trail of smoke as he takes the lead.
Beautiful counter steer, though, to keep himself from spinning out and ending up in either of the two cars on his left and what is now behind him.
And then on the outside, Jameson Sampaio reaches in about 30 meters later, trying to get aggressive on the power on the exit. He gets a fantastic slingshot up the hill, tries to sneak the side draft, and he'll get it on the top of the crest, on the brakes to try and take it away, and he'll get it back. Door left open, Sebastian will follow suit. Thank you very much, you've left me lock and key, but it's not open yet because the inside is still covered. Someone left the lock chain.
That they did, and running too wide through this section is doable, not easy, but they were able to manage it without killing each other in the process, which is always a good sign as we're in through the last 6 or so minutes of this race.
Yeah, every lap now is going to be counted down, and they are going to be in a very important showcase. They've got 3 laps to figure it out between them. One of those 3 drivers most likely is going to come away with the victory here in Division 2 at Watkins Glen, with Zolder on the horizon a month from now. So through this section they charge the 90 and back up the hill once again. You are sat watching these drivers try and pick apart what they can, and especially when it's Division 2, every point is at a premium when you consider you're trying to aim for top 40, Fed.
Absolutely. When you want that goal of being at the Laguna Seca World Final at the end of the year, every point matters, and every position you're able to claim is equally as important, as I believe James Shrimpton was able to make it up to 10th.
Yeah, they're starting to bump draft here on this straight. They're really trying to work and gain a little bit of time and usurp their way around. Any small bit of time they can gain is going to be crucial, but it's a game amongst each other at the moment. Sebastian, get the Taramundi car back in line, because the moment you start having to defend, it's trouble. There is Damien McMullen, who is having a stellar night in the Fleet ID machine. The Irishman is on an absolute tear of this field, started 19th in this one, looking for 4th. Larray gives him a small tap as he was searching for the tiniest of margin around the outside. He'll still pick it up off the exit.
That he will. Beautiful night for Damien McMullen of racing. Hopefully he's able to keep this clean through the last couple laps we have going here and claim this 4th spot for Division 2.
Nick DeBeck's out, and he is out through technical issues, and there is contact between Larray and McMullen, and they'll both push each other off the road, and sneaking through is Albert Palahi, and Palahi was almost able to gain a gap to say, I can run away with 4th position. Not quite, but you can't afford to have that level of contact. They're bringing Willem van Rassel in. He's only 1.2 seconds back of this group.
That he is, and it's definitely going to be an interesting last couple of laps. It's going to see, bide their times, wait, see what they're going to do for those last movements to try to see what positions they can get at the end.
Well, Jameson Sampaio, who leads this race, will have to make the defence from the front with 2 laps to go. The question is as follows. Will there be a move for position for Laurent Sebastian to the front, or will there be a case of waiting? Tucker Sullier is going to be the one driver, number 57, Club Texas, trying to keep himself in the mix, and if he wants help, he'll need it from Melvin Time to give him a push, and Melvin Time will give him the push here and continue on that scrap. Tucker will be very happy about this. Look at the launch he'll get because of that, but he boxes himself in. Jameson placing the car fantastically. Oh, and a little bit of contact at the turn. Sawyer's going to lose out.
That he is, thankfully keeps control of the car, keeps that 3rd position, so no matter, as long as he's able to keep up with this group, he'll still have a shot at the end for a podium, if nothing else.
Yeah, this is to decide 1, 2, and 3 with the podium. This is so crucial in terms of the racing, and again on the outside, Jameson trying to run the outside track. It's still covered off then on the inside by the Taramundi machine of Laurent Sebastian, and Sebastian right now in the number 38 car sees number 39 now cruise up to the inside, get alongside the window. Can I order an overtake for the race lead, please? Yes, sir, you can.
Absolutely. Getting that spot back after immediately almost losing it. It's going to be seeing if Laurent Sebastian can get it in that last spot and then hold it through the rest of the lap for that win.
This has been a race of pure attrition that we have seen so far. These 3 are the only 3 who have been able to withstand that over the course of this race. Stay and keep their noses out of trouble. There is Willem van Rassel. He has caught McMullen's group.
That he has, and it's going to be interesting as we get the white flag, I believe, this time by, if he can get past McMullen and Polly for the top 5 spot, or potentially keep going past Larray for the 4th position.
This is where you've got to find those places. We will need to have 2 eyes open. one on the group for the lead, the other on the group for 4th position, as it will be a case of who gets the best slipstream run. Watch out for Laurent Sebastian at this moment, because he's already alongside Jameson Sampaio, and he might already look to take the race lead away on this final lap, and he has completely got the clearance, but has he got that clearance too early? Not pulling along into line, now trying to find a way back the other way. Tucker Sawyer trying to find a way in the middle, the gap's not open enough for him, he decides to lift off and wait for it. Well driven by Sebastian, taking full advantage, defending on that inside line, but now they're going to start using all of the road here, trying to find a place to overtake on the brakes into the chute, and this is where Jameson has been at his best, into the toe of the boot, and this is where he will try and find that overtake, that all-important overtake that will put Division 2 in his mind. Door is left open though. Tucker Sawyer trying to find a bit of room, but sliding a bit too wide off the exit. Suddenly, it's all Jameson as he looks for the inside line. Has he got the room to make this one his? On the brakes they go once again, up and under. Sebastian's had troubles once today, down at the heel of the boot, but he won't make contact this time, and he is running out of opportunity here if he wants to make it happen. Very defensive line through at turn 9, and all of a sudden it becomes a race for 2nd position overall. Lorraine there behind, he's also going to have his eyes fully filled in the mirrors too for 4th position, but Jameson Sampaio, ooh baby, he has driven an absolutely brilliant race, and he knows above all else to start with a win, Division 2 or otherwise, is the perfect way to get a season on track. Look at this, Lorraine and Palahi spin, and just like that, McMullen takes a tap as well. Willem van Rassel will take 4.
Oh, and that's what I was talking about at the beginning, if he's able to get around them, but if they're all crashed out, that will do that. So 4th is going to be Van Rassel, McMullen is going to be 5th, Gross 6th, Lorraine is going to round out your top 7.
34 to 6th in a race. Edward Gross, what a drive he has been able to bring forward. There are going to be races all the way to the final lap, which includes Mathieu Camus here, who's got Rene Zegelar for a bit of company, and Rene will feel very hard done by after his issues on the opening lap. Trying to look at turn 9, Fenn couldn't quite find it.
Could not, and is going to round out that race, I think, in those positions. We have Michael Tangretta trying to get around Not Tempest, that's going to be for 23rd.
Yep, so Alexandre Longo is the driver in front. You've got Matt Tempest, who's the driver on the back here, and it's going to be about that sleeper move at the final corner. You can find a pass there from time to time. You've got to take the Michael Conti line, though, if you want to try and make that happen, though. So on the brakes, through the final corner, drive off the exit. How about this? We'll get a drag race down here for the positions just outside the top 20. Longo is just going to hold. Last of the drivers will make their way over the line now, which means that we will now take the ability to look at our race results here from Division 2 of your MX5 World Sim Series. Jameson Sampaio, 25 minutes, 42 seconds. Coolest head in the room. Wins by 8/10 over Laurent Sebastian, with Tucker Sawyer making up the podium in 3rd. Willem van Rassel would go from 22nd up to 4th, with Damian McMullen 5th and Edward Gross in 6th position. Jarno Lorey would end up 7th, with Albert Palahi in 8th. James Shrimpton would end up 9th, with Peter Reed rounding out the top 10.
Mick Robinson is going to be your 11th place finisher. In 12th is going to be Martin Smith. Christian Heinz is going to be in 13th. Scott Angelo in 14th. Jordan Svetanov is going to be 15th. Patrick Alders in 16th. 17th is going to be Tony Wallace, with Matthew Kemis going to be in 18th. Renee Zegelar, is going to be 19th. And your 20th position is going to be Pedro Marimo.
Over the page then to 21st number. These drivers a minute down because they had damage early. Sandavara, one of them, so too Alexandre Longo. Michael Tanner Greta finds himself in 23rd, with Matt Tempest 24th, Charles Kellyman, Stefan Dumas, and Victor Plymouth, the last drivers on the leading lap. Laps down for Melvin Tyne, Roy Charles, and Stephen Elder in this race, and it also included the likes of Miles Owens a lap down. Nick de Beck would find himself out of the race with 3 laps remaining, along with Victor Oliveira and Mackenzie Mann rounding out the field here today in Division 2. We are not done, though, here at Watkins Glen, because your main event is coming up in just a few moments' time. Division 1 will bring itself into the spotlight and the defense of the crown for Jaume Dalmases. We'll see you in just a couple moments as Division 1 will bring itself forward shortly. Two races down, one big race left. It's the start of the season for those in Division 1. This is where the big players of the game all hang out, and their quest to be on pole position come Laguna Seca and give themselves the best possible chance of victory. You earn your points here by having strong qualifying efforts, and this is the place where you start to have it here with the Global Sim Racing Channel. Down live to where qualifying is currently underway. It's currently Nicholas Goebel, who is fastest of them all at the moment, but there are still drivers out there who are looking to put some lap times in. The two that you would definitely need to keep an eye out on at this moment here, Fen, you must argue, would be Yuanji Lin and Eugenio Pulici.
Definitely. With those two still have flying laps and beautiful times from last season, it'll be interesting to see where they place themselves on this grid for the opener of this coming season.
Yep, and here is Yuanji Lin, who is such a quick driver, who's been so quick in so much different machinery. And here in the Miata, the Chinese driver for 5-Star Motorsport is looking to really open up the tank and get this one close. How good is it going to be? 2:05.6 is the time to beat. Answer on a postcard, 2:06.5. Only P17, and that will be disappointing for Yuanji in terms of this race. Wanted a little bit more out of that and felt that there was certainly more to give. Eugenio Pulici then for the Absolute Motorsport machine is out there on track. So too Jack Veazey for Avid Controllers. He's hoping that his first lap time is going to be good. He was 20th in pre-qualifying.
That he was. He was definitely going to have his work cut out for him based on the timings that we're seeing here if he wants to get up on that front row or even somewhere up in the top 10.
Yeah, top 10 would be brilliant. That's a 2:06.2 as the time to beat there at the moment, but you never know how good the lap's going to be. This is going to be close here for Jack Veazey in terms of what he wants out of his lap. Crosses the line, it's a 2:06.9 though, and that's good enough for the 12th row of the grid as things currently stand. So that's all in play. Ray Lombardi's still yet to start his flying lap. He will get the opportunity to bring that in, so he'll be one of the last ones over the line. And Eugenio Pulici here might be leaving this one a little bit late. This is his out lap at this moment in time, and you feel you need 2:06 to get it over the line. With these quick drivers, he is going to put that one right up on the cusp, because wait for when he crosses the line, he will have 2:08 on the clock. This needs to be good.
That it does. Otherwise, he will not finish before the qualifying ends, and he will be put in the back of the grid alongside Jose Rodriguez, Ray Lombardi, and Stephen Orell, who have also not finished putting in quality lap times yet.
It's those lap times that become so crucial. You've got likes of Ariharo as well, who is in that mix too. Pulici up the hill, trying to minimize the steering angle as much as possible while still hugging that inside curve at turn 4. Looking over then to the left-hand side of the circuit. A chance to breathe when it comes to qualifying. Right up on the rev limiter here in that 4th gear. And now looking to try and descend down onto the brakes here. Sliding with a bit of counter steer through the outer loop, and now setting up the very technical middle of this circuit all over the outside curve and dropping down the hill through this middle sector and into the chute.
Coming through the chute, he's going to have to really manage that speed and the momentum like we were talking about in the last race. Huge part of getting a good lap time in this circuit is that momentum, how much you can carry from corner to corner.
Corner to corner, moment to moment, acceleration zone to zone. That is what Pulici is really trying to maximize. Up the crest of the hill once again, looking towards the heel of the boot, which is this amazing 120-degree right-hand bend where you're just trying to put the power down early, taking it just 115 Ks. He uses all of his road tax and then some, trying to extend the circuit. Turn 9 off camber. You got to get to the corner entry early. And after you hit the apex, you got to make sure that you don't get too early on power, because you'll just slide across the circuit to turn 10 and then 11 that follows. Who is going to get themselves on pole? Will it be Pulici or will it be Nicholas Goebel, who is up there at the front by almost 0.2 of a second from David Terron at this moment in time? It's Pulici over towards the line. It's a 2:06.3. It's good enough for the 6th row of the grid, and that is qualifying complete. Nicholas Goebel will be on pole position in the number 5 machine, a 2:05.628. David Terron will have himself alongside the leader in pre-qualifying. Adnan Grozdanic will start from 3rd, with the reigning champion Jaume Dalmases going from 4th position. Lars Fischer starts 5th alongside Victor Gonzalez in 6th. Enzo Sampaio is 7th with Camden Hibbett in 8th place. Gert de Vries starts 9th alongside Lincoln Fox.
Alberto Blanco is going to be your 11th place. Sharing that row is going to be Eugenio Pulici, who we talked about just a moment ago, Franco Sanchez, as well as Chris Knox is going to be your row 7. Row 8 is going to be Trevor Roy and Per Sandberg in 16th. 17th is Iwan Bremer, and Zhanji Lin is going to be 18th. 19th, Robert Bruno and David Chapman wraps out your top 20.
Over the page to 21st, it's Dylan DaCosta, and what a poor qualifying by Jason Cooper. He will be very upset that he is starting this race from 22nd position. Joel Singleton and Tony Latenmaki will go from 24th. Jack Veazey and Nuno Ferreira house row 13. Row 14 consisting of Cali Cavisto and Dan Skinner. You've then got Martin Sampson 29th and Philip Scrifniano in 30th position, leaving the final four to Ray Lombardi, Jose Rodriguez, the first to not set a time, Ari Haro, and Stephen Orrell making up 34. The drivers getting themselves then down onto the grid. They've got 2 minutes to put it together. 5-star generally have had a great qualifying. There is the number 5 of Nicholas Goebel, who is on the front of this field. David Terron, his teammate, is alongside him for company, and this might be a case of what can he do. Zenith Esports have some good drivers in Gonzalez and Dalmases. They'll be looking to make that effort, and don't count out Adnan Grozdanic. Green flag in the air, 25 minutes in Division 1, and we are underway. A good start by Goebel, who's immediately over to the inside. Terron has nothing to fight with. It's Dalmases versus Grozdanic as they now head towards turn 3. Out, turn 1, out on track the 90. Everybody tiptoeing to try and find themselves a way through, knowing that this first race of the season is a tone setter.
That it is, and if you're able to set a good tone, good pace for the rest of the season, get yourself good points, and get yourself on that board for that top 40 finish at the end of the year.
And just like that, immediately there's the pull alongside by David Terron. The 2 Zenith cars working together, the push on Jaume Dalmases, trying to slingshot him towards the race lead. 4 wide at the front, and there'll be 1 and 2 right now for Zenith as they rush to the outer loop. Brilliant stuff, and suddenly in a matrix finds Grozdanic because there's all sorts of machinery around him. Brilliant stuff off of the front, and you can throw a blanket on the top 10.
That you can. They're so wrapped up with each other that it's going to be interesting to see how they settle out, how they find their own paces. And the back straight bump drafting that we saw out of those Zenith machines, we'll probably see out of a lot of other cars here in the next 25 minutes.
You absolutely will. You've got to run the gauntlet. Someone like Camden Hibbett, for example, in the Parallel Racing Group car is going to be one to keep an eye out on. Terron has been shuffled back in this race on for 4th and 5th. Grozdanic can't find himself an opportunity to get through, but look at them. They're all trying to find a lane here. It's almost like they're switching, like they're out there on the freeways at this moment in time. Everywhere you look, there is an opportunity to be had. Hibbett can't quite shut the door because here goes Enzo Sampaio looking to the inside to get another one notched up in the book. And he's almost just about got it. 1 in the wall in the background. That's a big heavy hit. That might be Pulici.
I believe it is Pulici back there, and it was. So he's currently going to be having to recover that car from the wall. It doesn't look like it kind of be catching him out in a way that he needs to tow, but it definitely is going to be something that he's going to be trying to get sorted so he can get back up in the points.
Yeah, he's going to need a lot of points. Every position scores points, but you want more of them. That's the key, is now 1 lap score complete. Jaume Dalmases, the reigning champion, leads at the front of this pack. Second, his teammate, Victor Gonzalez, his rear gunner. You then got the train of 5-star Motorsports. Nicholas Goebel, David Terron is in there. You've got Grozdanic in 5th, another 5-star car, and Lars Fischer in 6th. Enzo Sampaio 7th, Camden Hibbett in 8th. You got Hector Figs in 9th, and Lincoln Fox, who's been quite quiet, rounds out the top 10. Here we go on the front stretch again. Goebel against the machine will now move to the inside, and this is team warfare at the Glen.
That it is, and it's going to be interesting to see how they manage this place. Retaking the beginning, that first position there as they go into the more technical section of this track, and whether they can hold that through the more technical pieces, as we had a little bit of shake out of one of the Zenith machines.
Yeah, that small shake is not going to be too helpful. Slightly wide off the exit as well. But David Teron puts Lars Fischer in a bit of a bind at the toe of the boot. Grosdanic on the outside in the number 17 machine is certainly searching about, hoping that there's going to be places to be made. And a little bit further back, Chris Knox is looking for passes as well. Side by side up the hill, looking for the run then to the toe of the boot. Look at it. It is an absolute pandemonium of a group. They have all kept within range of each other, and this is going to be one very difficult race to climb up through the places.
That it is. You have a couple people that are managing to do it pretty well. Jose Rodriguez is up 11 though, so it's possible. You just got to find the lines and find the pace where you want to make those late breaks to try to get around the car in front of you.
The first break is with Franco Sanchez, the Peruvian, out there, as he's just got through on Yuan Lin, who's now got mirrors full of Dylan da Costa. David Teron in 5th position, waits then on this 5-star group, but everyone knows that this can fracture at a moment's notice, just like it does at the front of the field. Dalmases to the point, past Nicholas Goebel for position. Alberto Blanco sets the fastest lap of the race, and there'll be bonus points on the horizon. Everybody checks up, heading for the S's, and that's always scary.
That it is. It's always scary whenever people start slowing down in the S's, because that usually means that there's something going on. And whether that's in front of you or behind you, you got to worry about it.
Up, down, left, right, slant ways. You're going to have to look. And now they find a lane like they're dueling at Talladega. Four as they go through. 2 wide, 4 deep. Look at this. Super shove comes through on the outside line. And that will be enough for Goebel surely to hold. You got to find a lane. And right now everybody's trying to pivot and find the almighty push. It's Lars Fischer who finds himself the wrong side of that. He gets shuffled back down to 8th place. Down the hill, Gonzalez trying to run around the outside of the chute now to take the race lead away. And the Zenith team are 1 and 2 again, and they might have help in this group in Alberto Blanco, who's trying to desperately rush up through this group to join.
That he is. He's been setting good times. If he can keep moving forward in the group, he can make that 1, 2, 3 for Zenith if he's able to keep that forward momentum.
That momentum is going to be crucial. Side by side still for second as the German Goebel on the inside tries to hold off Victor Gonzalez on that outside line. But the more that they scrap, the more they will allow Jaume Dalmases to break away. It is in the interest to not have that position go, and Goebel realizes it. Now down the inside taking advantage is Grosdanic. Big slide by Victor Gonzalez, and that opens the door up a little bit more. It's now 7/10 of a second. This is brilliant work by Zenith.
That is using the counter steer and the almost kind of intentional, scare for the cars behind them to create that gap between first and second.
You're going to have to work with the pick, and look at this, trying to desperately cling on to the slipstream. I still think there are eyes of grandeur around the entirety of this group, and you can argue to an extent that this one is 16 deep for the race lead. Yuan Lin with the fastest lap on the back of this group with Jason Cooper, who is by every stretch of the imagination a favourite for the title. He was last season, which was won by Jaume Dalmases. On board with Teron, who keeps going backwards. He's now in 7th, trying to charge.
It's been an interesting race with Teron trying to get back places and just not finding the room as well as the speed to make any sort of pass back up the field. It's just going to be more about managing the attrition at that point and where you can start making that push back up.
And that little bit of gap does also calm down the group. Little slide there by Blanco as he scraps it out then with Grosdanic. Then in 4th position, down the hill, searching for a pass. Hibbett's in the mix as well, and you never count out anybody in the parallel racing group. They've got such a highlight of talent. A little bit there of running into the grass from one of the 5-star cars that might have been there. So everybody is searching about. But if you're in the middle of this group, you're trying to gain and get yourself up to the front. This is a very, very awkward case of give and take, and everyone's going to be trying to jump in the final 5 minutes to get up further forward. Well, at what point did the alliances break down?
I think it's going to be around that 5-minute marker where those alliances that are hesitantly forged between everybody to kind of keep the pack moving forward as a collective break down, and we start throwing elbows for those positions.
Yeah, we're almost getting that now with Enzo Sampaio and Per Sandberg, who is on that inside line trying to hold the place. And if those two continue to scrap too wide, there's troubles. Franco Sanchez trying to get himself involved in that one as well. Number one, David Teron, fastest in pre-quali, is looking for his way forward now to gain some places. Enzo does get that move sorted, puts him in 10th place, but can't afford to drop the slipstream. That is the most important fact. We talk about it. It's a rubber band. It is so easy to lose it, but some may try to lose it to get the fastest lap bonus point at the end of the day.
That they will, because if they can get the slipstream going for enough of the lap, they can put together something that is much quicker than you can do even in your solo qualifying.
Yeah, that's going to be so crucial. Who can you leapfrog off of? Dalmases, Goebel, Gonzalez, Grosdanic and Blanco, your top 5. Looking at Teron, who's getting himself a little bit of push from his teammates here, and they're going to have to work to get back up here. Chris Knox, the Scotsman there. Lars Fischer as well. Oh, trouble in the background there. 2 go around in the back.
That they do, the individuals, I believe, were Franco Sanchez and someone else. I want to say Per Sandberg, I almost want to say, but they are currently trying to move up.
They're trying to move up, they're trying to gain places. You never like to see trouble out there on the circuit, especially as cars find themselves going around. It was an awkward position out there as they went through, and you cannot sit and wait and say this is going to be an easy case over the course of this race. You have to be so alert out there on track, and there is Franco Sanchez in 12th position, keeping himself in the mix. It's almost 3 wide up the crest here towards that heel of the boot, and on the outside you got Dylan Da Costa who's trying to make that move. Jason Cooper is in this mix as well. They do have a couple of drop rounds in the championship, 3 of them. It's your best 7 of 10 that score the championship at the end of the season.
And then once you have those best 7 of 10, it is going to be seeing where you stack up against the other top 40, and if you have yourself a place secured in that world final, as we have this nice kind of train still going from first all the way back to, I would say, about 16th of these cars.
That train is all there. They are all trying to gain those places. The look from behind from the reigning champion, Jaume Dalmases, who leads this race outright and, of course, won last time out at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca to take the title. There have been a lot more looks around at what can the teams do in the championship. Zenith have brought more drivers in numbers. 5-Star have brought more drivers in numbers. It's not going to just be the Jason Cooper show. At what point do you want to start making the move? This is where it gets awkward for Nicholas Goebel. The last place he wants to be is at the front. If I was sitting in Victor Gonzalez's shoes, I'd find a way to push him to the front of the field.
That I would find a way to push him around Zenith, so that way he has a little more breathing room, but also more room for you to kind of work up behind him.
Yeah, there is certainly that sense where if they can just put one car to dangle out, very similar to cycling, put someone to do the donkey work in the peloton, that's going to be key. Now they shuffle up, 3 wide in the background as well between Hibbert and 2 of the 5-Star machines. That's Fischer and Teron, and somehow they go through 3 wide now towards the toe of the boot as Knox finds across Danic and Blanco. And suddenly everybody is trying to find a space, and again Dalmases gets a gap.
A gap there for Dalmases. It's going to be definitely something that he's going to be appreciating, that little bit of breathing room, so that way he doesn't have to be super worried about who's going to be up on his neck, especially if there's teammates behind him.
Yeah, 1 and 2, and very nearly 1, 2, 3. Alberto Blanco is now going to have to play defense here as Nicholas Goebel just about holds it off. Still trying to roll into the corner though, and this is extending the gap. This is perfect from Zenith at this moment. Goebel continues to be put into effectively a Venus flytrap right now. He has nowhere he can find the passes, and suddenly look at the group of talented drivers who are all bulked up behind Blanco.
Blanco is playing amazing defense there for his team up in first and second, trying to keep that, use as much of that road as possible to keep people from going around him and getting his spots back up.
They're also very even on pace. The slipstream is the great equalizer in this group. On they go then down the hill, searching at the 90, and now back up it. There's troubles. 2, bang, hard into the barriers then at 1. One was David Terron, the other was Franco Sanchez, the Peruvian.
And that is just one of those instances where if you turn too quickly, it'll definitely get you caught out, and you will then have to figure out if you can make it before you lose control of that car.
So easy to lose control, and that has taken a couple drivers out of contention for the victory here today at Watkins Glen in the season opener of the Simify MX5 World Sim Series. On the brakes, round the outside for third, there is still racing Lincoln Fox in 14th, and the Foxtrot Racing Machine car is now on the back in his Miata trying to find some progress. But progress now is going to be harder. They've got to clear Blanco through this section. Give him half a door, why don't you? In third place, and he will be shuffled. 3 wide it's going to be. Oh, it's the tightest gap for Hibbett that he's had. Camden Hibbett has to lift out of it. What fantastic close quarters action.
It is going to be absolutely fantastic door banging with those cars and trying to keep them all pointed in the same direction. Beautiful to see that everybody made it out of that very tight 3 wide in those corners.
This is such a huge race that they've got in the offing. They are looking around at everybody here, trying to get as much as they can. On board with Camden Hibbett, who's now side by side with Alberto Blanco, who is now going backwards, trying to just find a way to couple himself in this train. Tries to snip his way back up underneath. He is being a pest. He is a hornet. He is a nuisance in this group, and that is what he is doing. He is an agent of chaos for the front 2.
That he is, keeping everybody from third on, basically trying to make sure they don't catch up to his 2 teammates in first and second. You can see that 0.2 gap between 1 and 2, and then almost a second between first and third.
It's 0.8 of a second over the line, but crucially Goebel has not had that rubber band snap despite the efforts of trying to get through. He's really having to work in this race as the German, knowing that he's got Adnan Grosdanic from Club Diach just behind him. Chris Knox is there too, who will be helpful, the Scotsman. Camden Hibbett, Alberto Blanco, who won't be helped, but you've got Fischer, Sampaio, Sandberg, Jason Cooper's trying to run up through. So too Dylan Da Costa and Yuan Jilin. Everybody is searching to try and chase, and look at it, it is a bump draft metropolis on the backstretch.
That it is, of individuals trying to push each other for getting pace when you have that slipstream, or pushing the car in front of you to make sure you don't lose it. So it's going to be interesting to see where that changes as we get to those last 5 minutes.
And the big key there is the gap halves on the straight despite the bump from Gonzalez. The slipstream is far too strong. They can't get a breakaway at the front. Yuan Jilin now side by side, the back of this group, almost coupling with Dylan Da Costa, who's now looking to try and find an avenue on the inside, and these two definitely can't fight, otherwise they'll lose contact with Per Sandberg, who's there in 10th place.
That they will, and then if they do that, they won't be able to catch any of the other cars that seem to be in front of them in that nice train of cars that are just coming down the final 2 corners of the section.
Yeah, into the heel of the boot. Lars Fischer searching to the inside. Enzo Sampaio in the mix as well, gets turned. Mix gets turned. Jason Cooper over the nose. And just like that, Enzo's race is day and done.
That it is. He's definitely probably going to be able to get it back out there, but it's definitely not going to be for any amount of points that he was hoping to get from where he was standing before that spin.
Oh, now it starts to get interesting here with Adnan Grosdanic, who is there on the inside, trying to make the pass on Chris Knox, and he is from the School of Hard Knocks, and he graduated with straight A's, as he now looks to try and make it happen on the outside. The push coming from Camden Hibbett, who's trying to inhibit that next position. He's not going to quite get there at the moment at the 90, and suddenly it's 3 away, and Goebel will have himself all alone the ability to scrap with Gonzalez and Dalmases.
He is by himself. It's going to be interesting to see how he manages trying to go on a 2v1 for that title and that win of the session, especially against the reigning champion of Dalmases.
Look, this is where they've got to work together. This group is not coagulated the way that they need to. 1, 2, and 3, all in a line, all trying to get some breakaway. 3 wide it will be here for 4th position for just a moment. Grozdanic holding this group, but they're working hard on the outside line, the 5-star cars. Chris Knox is the leader of that train of 3, but he can't make it happen. They've really got to work together.
They really do, and if they aren't, they're just going to keep losing those top 3 drivers that are currently running away from them. As you see that gap continuing to open, even here on this
there it goes, Knox and Blanco.
And that's exactly what we were hoping that wouldn't happen, and that car is probably going to be done for the moment, based on how many times that has decided to flip over.
He has gone for a roller coaster of a ride, and live by the sword, die by the sword. He dies by the sword wholeheartedly. That's his race, done and dusted. And now all of a sudden, Jason Cooper is having an absolute worldie of a race. He started 22nd, and he's P5. Mark of an incredible driver.
Absolutely, incredible driver, incredible pace, being able to make up those 17 positions and just keep going to kind of try to find what else he can get in for that team as well as himself for this championship.
Mark him down as a contender. He has made a move a minute in this race. 6 minutes will be on the clock. That will be 3 laps worth of racing. GSRC replay then. Let's get it on your screen. This is how quickly it goes. The finest of margins, and Blanco stuck on the outside, and there's the hook, and there is the line, and that hit here from Sandberg is the sinker.
That it is. Unfortunately, that is 2 races and maybe 3 races out for the day in terms of those high standing points and getting everything they wanted out of this race.
Not the plan for Alberto Blanco, but the plan up in front. Dalmases Gonzalez and Nicholas Goebel, who is trying to find his way through. He's not going to make the move just yet, but he is going to have to be patient and wait and try and find a way for his run. They're still working hard behind him, and Goebel will hope that Jason Cooper's got a chance on that outside. It is fluctuating at about 1.1, 1.2. It needs to be at half a second to get Jason Cooper's help, with, of course, Camden Hibbett in 6th. Adnan Grozdanic in 5th has to yield, and he falls to 6th down the chute.
And it's just going to be interesting to see how these other drivers that aren't with either of the 2 top teams try to make their way and get to those podium positions from where they are, and what help they can give each other in these final few minutes.
This is one of the greatest sim races we've seen, and it still goes on down in 13th. It's Tony Latin-Marchi for the Alastaro esports team. He's got Dan Skinner in this group. He's got, of course, alongside him, Jose Rodriguez, and behind him, Ewan Bramer, who is there in the number 22 car. All of these drivers started this race 17th or back. They're now racing it out then for 11th place at this moment. One of them starting outside of the top 30.
Yes, and it's an amazing race from Jose Rodriguez and everybody else in this group, seeing them move forward and try to get to that top 10 spot, or that even top 20 for all of these people.
Camden Hibbett on the radio says to Jason Cooper, let's go catch the leaders. He's not going to fight them over as they go through. With 2 laps to go, this is the money lap for the second group.
That it is, and if they're able to make this line and get the time back, close down that gap to the leaders, we might have a bit of a brawl on our hands for that final lap.
You know that they're going to get the elbows out. You know that it's all pleasantry and pageantry at this moment until that white flag by Barney is waved in just a couple of minutes' time. Now here comes the push, the bump drop coming from Hibbett, and he'll need some help from Grozdanic, but he's not going to play ball. He's going to try and leapfrog the pair of them and gain that time that way. Gap still at 1.4. They are pretty much as shuffled as they can possibly be, close together in that lead group. Dalmases, Gonzalez and Goebel are doing so well at keeping his second group at bay. Wide goes Grozdanic, back through goes Cooper.
That, and just able to keep that distance between the leaders as well as that group behind them, they are able to maybe make up this last bit of pace, though it doesn't seem like that timer is going down any further relative between 4th and 3rd.
No, it's not, and that is huge. It's 1.2 seconds, and they're going to be agonizingly waiting and seeing through the perspex that there is not much they can do. Is there going to be a case of teammates scrapping for the victory here between Gonzalez and Dalmases? He had a little think, did Victor Gonzalez here. There's going to be a crisis of conscience here in the last lap and a bit on what does he do? Does he play gunner or does he go for it all?
I would have to say that if he wants to be, a good teammate, he'd be playing gunner, playing defensive, keeping Nick Global behind in third position. But if he decides to be ambitious, it might be a chance of, well, you're the reigning champion, but now you're going to play the gunner. Please don't have me do it.
Yeah, this is big. This is a huge showcase then, as now Barney will wave the white flag at the season opener at Watkins Glen. It's a case of teammates between Dalmases and Gonzalez, the reigning champion and his teammate, his wingman, but Nicholas Goebel is there. 8/10 the gap to Jason Cooper. They can use the entire straight to close that down. That second group is not out of this one just yet. A lovely bit of gap left by Nicholas Goebel up the hill. This is sensational car placement by the German. He might have a run on this long stretch. Now they start to bump draft here. They're fully behind Jaume Dalmases. But watch out for Nicholas Goebel, who closes and closes and closes. He'll have to go the long way around. They'll box him. Oh, brilliant. 2 tires in the grass, trying to go around the outside. Oh, brilliant stuff by Goebel, but he'll hold it together. He'll get one out of the way, but he needs to get the second. Dalmases on the defense, down into the chute. But now you've got the group getting back together again. Help arrives on the horizon in the form of Jason Cooper as they now hit the toe of the boot. Down the inside again. Gonzalez playing the gunner brilliantly. Up and under again goes Goebel, and he's still got chances, but he's got to clear. Victor Gonzalez now with 4 corners remaining in this race. Dalmases has played his cards absolutely perfectly here at the front of this race, and again around the outside. This is the crucial corner, turn 9, because there is no clearance for Nicholas Goebel. He knows he's compromised here. Down the inside is Gonzalez. Up and under it is again. Gonzalez spins it, somehow avoids everyone. Oh my goodness, and now 5-star, 2 on the podium, but it's too little too late. Grosdanic takes a tap for 3rd. Camden Hibbett is still in the mix for it, trying to look. Jaume Dalmases will start 24 the way he did 23. He wins at Watkins Glen.
Coming in second is going to be Goebel. Cooper in 3rd. Grosdanic is going to be your 4th. And then Hibbett rounds out your top 5 of these winners here in Watkins Glen.
What a race. Skinner is going to be just behind Rodriguez. It will be 8th and 9th. Dramas on the last lap. Dylan DaCosta has a blown tyre heading towards the end of this race. Out will be Yuanxi Lin. Looks like David Teron falls way down the order as well. So there have been dramas here, there, and everywhere here at Watkins Glen. And there will still be racing to the end, even down for 28th and 29th with David Chapman and Philip Scrifiano as they go through. Singleton will make a rush over towards the line. We have amazing racing up and down the order.
This is a replay here for what happened to Dylan DaCosta in the Virtual Drivers 21. Did rubbing and ended up crashing. Oh,
that's a hefty shunt. Dylan DaCosta will feel so hard done by that race. We're going to step aside for one moment here with the Global SimRacing Channel. Post-race fallout from the season opener here at Watkins Glen. The Simify MX5 World Sim Series has got off and underway with a bang. What an incredible finish to an incredible night's worth of racing here. The Simify MX5 World Sim Series is back, and Jaime Dalmases is the notch to beat. His victory in 25 minutes and 18 seconds was with a winning margin of 7/10 over the line over Nicholas Goebel, who challenged him every stage of the way. Jason Cooper from 22nd on the grid will take a podium finish in third in one of the ultimate drives of his sim racing career, as Adnan Grozdanic would finish off in fourth position and Camden Hibbett would round out the top 5. Victor Gonzalez was on for a podium, but a slide with a couple of corners to go cost him. He dropped back to 6th, with Lars Fischer ever consistent in 7th. Lincoln Fox would pick up 8th, with Jose Rodriguez 9th, and Dan Skinner rounding out the 10.
Tony Latinmaki is going to be your 11th place, as well as Iwan Bremer in 12th. Ray Lombardi is going to be your 13th. Nuno Ferreira is going to be your 14th. Trevor Roy in 15th. David Turon in 16th. Dylan DaCosta, a lackluster 17th after that final incident. Franco Sanchez is going to be in 18th. 19th is Khaled Gvisto, and 20th is going to be Ariharo.
3 Finns inside the top 20 is good work. Joel Singleton will end up 21st, ahead of Per Sandberg, and Yuan Jilin classified in 23rd. Martin Sampson will be 24th, with Eugenio Pulici in 25th. Jack Veazey would then lead Roberto Bruno and Philip Scriffignano in 28th position. David Chapman would find 29th, a lap down though for Stephen Orrell. That would make 30, and then the drivers who did not find finishes today: Chris Knox, Alberto Blanco, Enzo Sampaio, and then Geert de Vries would be the final driver who would be unable to find a finish here today. We're going to take a chance though to chat with some of our drivers. Jason Cooper is along with us here, 3rd place overall. Jason, 1 lap qualifying, a huge change for you in terms of that. Talk us through qualifying first and foremost, because that's probably not the performance you were looking for.
No, I honestly do not know what happened there, because I think the slowest time I did in practice, even without warming the tyres up or anything, was like a 6.1. I just had 0 grip, so I don't know what happened there. So yeah, I was very surprised to be down in 20 seconds.
So no grip, having to really work hard through the field. It was so congested in the early stages. How worried were you over the course of that race that the field would just chop up at the wrong point and leave you stranded?
Yeah, there was a lot of movements in that race, cars going everywhere, having to watch out for people moving about quite a bit on the straight and things like that. And yeah, so just glad to get through those first couple of laps. And luckily, the pack hadn't spread out too much, and I was able to work my way through.
It's just absolutely opened up for you towards the end. You always seem to be on the right side of the issues that happen. It's 3rd place after all of that. A simply incredible drive for you in the final stages, gaining those few places. What does that mean for you with Zolder on the horizon next month?
Yeah, that race was really just get out of jail free card, really. Minimise the damage of that poor qualifying. Again, I don't really know what happened there. But yeah, we'll move on next race and see how we get on Zolder.
Floor's yours, Jason. Anyone you'd like to thank? It's 3rd place for you and 5-Star Motorsport.
Yeah, just thanks to you guys for obviously putting on the broadcast every time. Obviously, Sander for organising the league. It's really good fun to race, and obviously all my teammates as well. So it's been good fun practicing all of this.
No worries at all there. Jason Cooper joining us, 3rd position overall after a fantastic charge up through the field. That is going to bring the curtain down to a close here today in the Simify MX5 World Sim Series. Want to give a massive thanks to the team who gets it done here today, from Fen, from Daniel, and from Dougie. You can catch on the screen in just the next couple of seconds all of the equipment that has helped get it done and get the show over to you, including the music by June Lalonde. If you haven't had the chance to catch her stuff already, you've got the chance to by going over to her Bandcamp. you've also got the chance to catch more incredible sim racing action that is coming up on your screen, scrolling across, including some of the action that will be heading through into February and, of course, for the foreseeable future. Mark them down in your calendar if you haven't already, and make sure that you say on social media how much you're enjoying that racing and how much you want to be a part of some Global Sim Racing Channel races. With Jaume Dalmases back where he belongs, up at the top after Titletown loomed for him last year, this 2024 is already shaping up to be one incredible season. Watch out, world, because there are so many sharks swimming. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We will see you at Zolder.
Wow.